Gentlemen, let me ask you something powerful. What if the pain she gave you wasn't meant to destroy you, but to awaken you? She broke your heart? Good. Now it's time to break her ego, not with revenge, but with your rise. Too many men get broken and stay broken. They drown in heartbreak, become shells of themselves, and hand over all their power to someone who left without a second thought. But here's the truth. You are not a victim. You are a weapon in the making. This isn't about hate. It's not about toxic games. It's about transformation. You're not here to become bitter. You're here to become better. You don't win by texting her sad poems at 2 a.m. You win by building a version of yourself so powerful, she has no choice but to remember what she lost and wonder how she ever let you go. Here are 5 keys to breaking her ego. The right way. When she walks away, the first instinct most men have is to chase. To send that one last text, to explain, to beg, to remind her of all the good times. But here's the cold truth. The more you chase, the more she pulls away. The more you try to prove your worth to someone who walked away from it, the less power you have. The moment she ended things, a power shift happened, and she expects you to play the role of the wounded man who can't let go. That expectation feeds her ego, but silence, that destroys it. Disappearing isn't weakness, it's dominance. It's refusing to give her the satisfaction of seeing you break. When you go completely silent, you strip away her control. You take back your energy, your focus, your attention, all the things that fuel her sense of superiority. Suddenly, you're not predictable. You're not available. You're not sitting in the corner, licking your wounds. You vanish. And in that silence, something powerful happens. She starts to wonder. Your absence starts to echo, louder than any message ever could. She checks her phone, and there's nothing from you. She posts something, hoping to get a reaction. And there's nothing. That silence creates discomfort, curiosity, and eventually, if you stay strong, regret. You're no longer the guy begging for closure. You're the man who respects himself enough to walk away without looking back. That unnerves her. Because when you stay silent, she's left alone with the consequences of her decision. And the ego that once believed you'd always be there, it starts to crumble. Not because you said something powerful, but because you said nothing at all. Your silence becomes your strength. Your disappearance becomes your message. And your absence becomes unforgettable. After heartbreak, most men sit in their pain. They replay moments, scroll through old photos, and wonder what went wrong. But if you really want to make an impact, not just on her, but on yourself, you need to shift that energy into something productive. Turn the pain into fuel. Every second you waste thinking about her is a second you could spend building a life she'll no longer recognize. Not because you want to show off, but because you owe it to yourself to rise. When you focus on leveling up, everything changes. Start with your body. Hit the gym like it's your therapy. Get stronger, leaner, sharper. Not for attention, but for discipline. Next, upgrade your mind. Read, learn, grow. Set financial goals, crush them. Build a career or business that commands respect. Dress better. Walk with purpose. Surround yourself with winners, not whiners. Soon enough, you won't just feel better. You'll look untouchable. You'll become the man who doesn't need to prove his worth because it's already written in his results. And trust this, when she sees the man you're becoming, it will shake her ego, because the man she left behind no longer exists. She didn't expect you to rise, she expected you to spiral, but you flipped the script. This isn't about revenge. It's about rebirth. It's about becoming the kind of man who doesn't chase, because his life is too full of purpose, progress, and power. And in that transformation, you'll find peace. You'll realize she didn't break you, she freed you. She made space for the man you were always meant to be. So build your life like it's a masterpiece. Make it so good, even she can't. Ignore it. But you no longer care if she sees it. One of the biggest traps men fall into after a breakup is waiting for closure. Waiting for that final conversation, that apology, that moment when she suddenly understands the pain she caused. But the harsh truth is, closure from her may never come. And even if it does, it won't heal you the way you think it will. Because closure isn't something she gives you. It's something you create for yourself. Relying on her to give you peace keeps you emotionally chained to her. It keeps your healing in her hands. And if she knows that, she'll use it. Maybe, not intentionally, but she'll sense your attachment, and it feeds her ego. Every unanswered question, every moment you hope she reaches out, gives her more control. So you take that control back. You stop waiting for answers and start giving yourself the truth. She made a choice. She walked away. That's all the closure you need. Whether she regrets it or not, whether she misses you or not, none of that changes your next move. What matters is your ability to accept what happened and move forward without needing her validation. This kind of self-given closure is powerful. It means you no longer look to the past to explain the present. You create your own narrative. You decide that her leaving wasn't the end of your story. It was the start of your transformation. You rewrite the pain as a lesson, not a life sentence. The moment you stop chasing closure is the moment you step into your power. You realize that peace isn't found in her words. It's found in your discipline, your choices, and your growth. You don't need her to make sense of it. You just need to move on like a man who finally knows his worth. When a woman breaks your heart, it's easy to question your own worth. You start wondering what you did wrong, where you fell short, and if maybe you should have tried harder. That mindset is dangerous, because if you're not careful, you'll lower your standards just to feel loved again. You'll settle for anyone who gives you attention, even if they don't deserve you. And worst of all, you might consider going back to the same person who broke you, just for comfort. That has to stop. What you tolerate is what you invite. If you allow people to disrespect you once, they'll think they can do it again. That's why after heartbreak, you must raise your standards higher than ever. Not just in relationships, but in every part of your life. Who you date, who you let close, what kind of behavior you accept. All of that needs to align with the version of yourself you're becoming, not the one she walked away from. When she realizes you're no longer available to her or anyone, like her, when she sees that you're not bitter, just better, it hits her ego hard. Because deep down, she expected you to stay stuck, or at least to come crawling back eventually. But you didn't. You evolved. You grew into a man who now demands more. A man who would rather be alone than disrespected. A man who values his peace more than he values temporary attention. That kind of self-respect is rare and powerful. It sends a clear message. The boy she left is gone. In his place stands a man who knows what he wants, refuses to settle, and has no interest in repeating the past. That's how you break her ego, by becoming untouchable. There's something every man needs to understand after a breakup. She can find another guy. There are plenty out there, guys who are taller, richer, more charming. But what's rare, what's unforgettable, is a man who can't be replaced. That's not about money or looks. It's about mindset, discipline, and presence. Becoming the man she can't replace means becoming a version of yourself that is so focused, so self-respecting, so driven, that no other man can compete. Not because of who you are to her, but because of who you are to yourself. Most guys try to move on by jumping into distractions, new girls, parties, fake confidence. But that's surface level. Real growth is internal. It's waking up early, working on your goals, investing in your body, mind, and spirit. It's building a life that reflects your vision, not your wounds. It's learning how to lead, how to listen, how to walk into any room with quiet confidence, knowing you don't need anyone to complete you. Women remember men like that. Not because he was perfect, but because he was grounded. He had standards, purpose, and direction. He didn't fold under pressure. He didn't chase after being chosen. He chose himself. When you become that kind of man, her ego can't help but feel the weight of what she lost. Not because you rub it in her face, but because you no longer even care to be seen. That's the secret. You don't do it for her. You do it for you. And in doing so, you become the kind of man that doesn't need validation, doesn't beg for attention, and doesn't look back. You become irreplaceable, not because you're trying to be, but because few men ever do the work it takes to become truly unforgettable. She broke your heart? Fine. But now break her ego by becoming the most dangerous, most focused, most unshakable version of yourself. Not out of spite, but out of purpose. Not to make her regret, but to make yourself proud. Because in the end, the best payback is simple. You don't look back.